My name is Ben. This happened back in 2007 up in the high desert in California. Around this time, Highway 138 was under long-term construction. I lived in a town called Felon, where everything was spread so far apart it would take 15 to 20 minutes just to get to the nearest gas station or food joint. I went to high school up there and was a senior with a longtime girlfriend. She lived in Wrightwood, which was a long drive from my house that meant crossing two highways. My mother would work long, tiring shifts and would sleep when she got home, so asking her was out. Instead, I would hitch a ride on my girlfriend's bus to her house after school, usually on Fridays since no school the next day. Getting home was the issue, though, as it was 15 miles between our houses and I would be walking. I had done the walk so many times I learned secret pathways down the mountain through the desert that would cut my walk by an hour, though it usually meant being in the middle of nowhere. But the scariest thing to happen to me wasn't necessarily in the lonely desert, but in the street. I was dumb and lazy and would sometimes hitchhike. I usually got picked up by parents of schoolmates who recognized me or something, but not often. One day I was walking. It was around 6 p.m. I believe, as the sun was fading, and a man named Charlie pulled up in a big red van. He asked if I wanted a ride, and I said sure. As soon as I got in, something was wrong. He was twitchy and looked abnormally thin. His cheeks were sucked in and looked exhausted but wired. He stared at me for what felt like a long time, and by the time I realized I was uncomfortable, the van was already moving down Highway 2. He talked a lot, mentioning that he had a friend named Carlos. He talked about Carlos a lot, and asked questions I couldn't possibly answer, like if I knew him, or if I liked his house and if he treats me well. I told him I don't know a Carlos. I realized at this point he wasn't taking me to Highway 138. Normally when someone picks me up, they go down Highway 2 to Highway 138. It was literally the only route you could take without going through the desert. When I asked about it, he told me too many cars are held up because of the construction and he knew a quicker route through the desert. He actually pulled through the route I usually took on foot, and my heart sank. I was about to end up alone in the desert with him. He continued to talk about Carlos as I searched for something to hold on to. I found a small screwdriver in his passenger door compartment and tucked it in my hand. He mentioned that I should meet Carlos, and that he could get me a lot of money. I assured him I wasn't interested, but it was like he didn't hear me. He told me he was going to take me to meet him. Again, I told him I was fine and I was in high school and didn't need to make money. I looked outside and realized I knew the area. There were a few houses in this part of the desert, just randomly thrown here and there. I'd walked past them before. He veered down one that was further away on its own. I knew he was going to take me there no matter what I said. He drove right through the open gate and parked. I heard endless howling of dogs as he pulled up and told me to get out to meet Carlos. I was scared, and I could hear my breathing getting louder. I considered attacking him then, but I panicked. He got out, and I saw the full form that was Charlie. He was tall, at least 6'3", and definitely was tripping on something. He wobbled like a child trying to stand. He went around and opened my door, then started to yell. The house was a 2-story house, built well. For a desert house, it was clean and crisp, not the scary, rundown places you'd imagine. An average height guy came out. He was older, maybe in his 60s. He had white facial hair and a shaved head. He looked at me and didn't look away as he told Charlie to go inside, and he did. Carlos asked me what I wanted, and I said to go home, that he was giving me a ride. He stared at me and pointed to the gate and said to leave, and I did. I walked to the gate, and as soon as I felt safe, I ran. I didn't stop. As soon as I could, I called the police on my prepaid Nokia and told them everything. I still walked home and sat on my bed. I was stunned and didn't know what to do. The police never contacted me after that day. I didn't tell my mom or girlfriend. I didn't want them giving me grief for it. After all of it, I still took the bus to see her, but I made sure I had a secure ride home after, or at least learn the public bus schedules. And I never hitchhiked again, but I still remember how hard my heart was beating, and how scared I was of what could have happened.